Hello, welcome. It's the very first episode of My People, the podcast. I am so excited to be here. I wanted to find a way to be able to connect with people like me, to connect with my community, to serve them, to be served, to laugh, to share. And I thought, why not have a podcast? Hopefully, this reaches you in a wonderful place and you're doing something amazing and you're having an amazing day. I am so thankful that you took the time out of your day to listen. I'm really excited to connect with my people. That's literally why I called it My People, the podcast. What does that mean? I am looking forward to connecting with the other people pleasers in the world and the other people pleasers who are in people pleaser recovery. Because, we have to continue to work on not people pleasing. Not everybody understands what it's like. And so I just wanted to connect with people who get me. And so that's why this podcast was created. So if you're listening, it means you recognize the struggle. It's real. You can relate. You're my people. And together we are going to learn from each other, share, vent maybe a little bit, and hopefully laugh a lot of it. So thank you for being here today. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Anna Stewart. I coach women who are struggling with people pleasing on how to build confidence, set boundaries, confidently say no, so that they can finally prioritize themselves without the fear of guilt and rejection. Kind of came into confidence coaching by my own honest journey with people pleasing. Sprinkle in a little bit of anxiety and depression and some self-worth issues in there as well. But, we're always complex. It's never just one thing. It's always so many different things that kind of contribute to our story, obviously. So I was a teen parent. I became a parent at 16. I got pregnant at 15. And obviously, I was a child. My brain wasn't even fully developed. And now I was responsible for a whole human being and their survival and their wellness. And that's terrifying. So needless to say, that was my first introduction into putting myself on the back burner. If you're a parent, part of being a parent requires you to a certain extent have to put yourself on the back burner. Yes, you do need to take care of yourself. Self-care as a parent is incredibly important. It makes you better as a parent. But at the end of the day, you do have a child that is incapable of taking care of themselves and needs you for their basic necessities. And that requires you to have to be like, okay, I'm going to have to miss out on sleep. I'm going to have to miss out on maybe something I really wanted to do. I'm going to have to delay a dream or maybe not be as invested in my dreams as I want to. And so that kind of being such a big part of my identity before my true identity was formed really contributed to that loss of sense of self that I think so many people pleasers get caught up in. We're so focused on taking care of everyone else around us that outside of being a giver, we don't know who the heck we are. It's so funny. I tell people that there was a time when I realized that if someone asked me what I like to do for fun, what my hobbies were, what I enjoyed, I was being a taxi cab for my daughter and carting her to her hobbies. That's what I do for fun. I didn't know. I didn't spend any time reading books I enjoyed or doing things I enjoyed. I was just so wrapped up in my identity as a mother and making sure that she had the best life possible. And I don't regret that, but I wish that I had a little bit more balance and spent a little more time on myself. And that's not to say I didn't have fun, of course, but I could have done better. In addition to losing my sense of self, that kind of spiraled into other things. And I found myself being a doormat for a lot of people in my life. My people-pleasing tendencies allowed me to end up in friendships and romantic relationships with people who did not have my best interests at heart. A lot of heartbreak, a lot of struggle, a lot of thinking people were there for you when really they were just using you, and like having to really acknowledge that and take that in. It was really hard. So eventually, I feel like I had a few pivotal moments in my life that kind of helped me because, it's a journey. It's never just like one step. It's kind of like this consistent movement towards something. And, but I know a big step that I took is when I was 25 years old, I moved to Texas. And before moving to Texas, I kind of come to a point in my life where I was like, you know what? I'm sick of these people. They ain't gonna keep taking advantage of me. I can tell they ain't my real friends and they don't actually have my best interests at heart. And I decided that at that moment, I was gonna put myself first, but I didn't really know what that meant. And so I mentioned I moved to Texas. Well, I got to Texas and I get to Texas and I realized that I am experiencing the same exact type of relationships that I was escaping in Michigan. How did that happen? I'm in a whole different state. So then I had to realize that the problem was actually me. I was looking at everyone else as like they were the villain and they were the bad guy for taking advantage of me. And they were, don't get me wrong. But what I failed to realize was the other side of that equation. And what was it in me that was attracting those kind of people and allowing those people into my life in the first place? Because here I was in a whole new state with people I didn't know, and I was replicating those relationships. I was finding myself in situations where I felt like I couldn't be myself. And I was walking into different rooms with like different personas at every place I went, just because I'm like trying to fit in and I have no idea who I am. So anyway, and all of that journey through therapy, through coaching, through personal development books, I just found myself in a position where I truly now am able to truly define myself for myself. Like, I decide who I am. No one else does. No one gets that privilege. I'm the star of the show. Stay in your supporting role and stay out my limelight. Thank you. And so I feel so good to be a person who knows who I am, who is so grounded in my boundaries, who focuses on what aligns with me and what doesn't align with me. And it just feels so beautiful to be in this position, to feel good, to wake up. And that's not to say you don't have bad days. Everybody has bad days. But to wake up overall loving myself and appreciating myself. It's such a beautiful thing. And so because of this journey that I've gone on, I say all this to say, I promise I won't always be this long-winded. I say all this to say that because of this journey I went on, I totally want to give back to others who are struggling. I want to connect more with the other people who are struggling and just go on this journey together and just like take back our names, take back who we are for ourselves. So if you're here and you're still here this far, I also want to share some red flags for yourself. If you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not sure if I fully relate to your story. I'm not sure if I really struggle with people pleasing. Not sure if this is the right podcast for me. I'm going to give you some clues to let you know you're in the exact right spot and you are, in fact, my people, and I am here for you. Here we go. Here are 5 red flags that you are a people pleaser. The first one, you can't say no. That's a big red flag. People pleasers struggle with saying no. They struggle with saying no because they feel guilty if they say no. The people in their lives guilt trip them and they start feeling bad. They feel like they won't be a good person if they say no. They fear rejection. They feel like if they say no, they're going to lose those relationships that they have in their lives. And they don't want to lose those relationships. Those relationships are serving them in some way. And they're scared of what happens if they say no. They also struggle with saying no because people pleasers also like to control things. And sometimes it's a matter of not respecting that what belongs to me, and what belongs to you, and getting really clear on where that line is. And so sometimes we struggle with saying no simply because we're taking on responsibility that isn't ours. We're taking on the responsibility of other people's wellness, success, happiness, thriving. We're taking that on because we're so scared. If I don't show up, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? Maybe this person won't be as successful. Maybe they won't be happy. Maybe they won't be this. Maybe they won't be that. Maybe that's their business and not yours. Number 2 red flag. You cannot enforce your boundaries. You may either be someone who has never attempted to even set boundaries, or you may be the type of person who's like, I'm going to set a boundary. I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell these people no. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm not going to budge. And then someone comes around with their guilt trip, and they're like, oh, but would you please, pretty, please? And you're just like, fine, but I'm not going to like it. And you cave. So is it really a boundary then? Or is it just you talking and them not respecting you? So you want people to just automatically treat you how you treat them. You're like, why can't everyone just be a good person? Why can't people just respect me without me having to ask them? Why can't people just be good? Why can't people treat me like I treat them and be kind and nice and helpful? Why can't everyone be a people pleaser? Maybe the world would be better if we were all people pleasers and everybody was really nice and went above and beyond for everyone else. Why can't they just be like that? And also, you're probably afraid of conflict. You don't like the tension. And I can relate. I still hate conflict. I am a conflict avoider to my core. However, I have learned that myself, my values, my life is more important and more valuable to me than the conflict. Like at the end of the day, I hate conflict, but I hate not having what I want and being true to myself even more. The 3rd red flag is that you are booked and busy, boo, in a bad way. You are overbooked and you're overwhelmed because, again, you can't say no. You find yourself, you're like, oh, technically on the calendar, I have an hour available. I'm going to fill it with a commitment to 5 different people that requires me to be in 5 different places at the exact same time and just hope that it all just magically works out. You are looking at physical availability and you are forgetting about your mental capacity and emotional capacity. Just because there is time in the day does not mean you have the energy to fill it. Sometimes you need to just rest and chill out. You're so wrapped up in this martyr identity, this I have to be the person to save and to fix and to do and to be there for other people. You're so wrapped up in that identity that it conflicts with who you are. It's almost like impossible to say no because it would conflict with how you totally view yourself. Like it's so foreign and so alien to you that you can't even imagine it. And you believe, there's this wonderful quote. I have it written down here. It says, you believe you have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You have to self-sacrifice. You have to make yourself small. You have to give up everything that you have and everything that you are for the well-being of others. Number 4, our 4th red flag is you keep putting yourself on the back burner. I mean, how could you not? You literally don't even have time in the day. You don't even have time in the day for all the commitments that you've made to everyone else. So how could you possibly have time in the day to actually show up and be there for yourself? Like it's impossible at this point. You have no energy, you're burnt out. You don't even have the time to consider what it is you would do if you had the time, because you've got all this mental fatigue. Again, not just talking about physical time, but emotional and mental capacity. And you've got so much mental fatigue that you literally don't even have the space in your brain to think about yourself, because you are giving everything you have to everyone else. And that is not fair. That is not a way to live. Again, you might be like me, where you've lost all sense of self, because you are putting yourself on the back burner so much that you've lost touch with who you are. You've lost touch with your hope and dreams. You've lost touch with your hobbies. You've lost touch with things you enjoy. What's your favorite movie? What kind of ice cream do you like? What do you like to do for fun? What's your favorite park? Where's your favorite trip? Do you know? Maybe you are also experiencing some codependency. I know I experienced this with my daughter, and I'm very thankful that we met some therapists that really helped me realize this, because I thought in order to be the best mother, it meant that I was making myself as small as possible and sacrificing myself as much as possible to be there for her. I thought that's what a good mother was. I thought by making my whole identity as being her mother, I was being the best mother and giving her the best opportunity and the best outcome she could have. When in reality, what you are doing is you're taking away that person's ability to learn how to take care of themselves. It's like tying shoes, right? Like when we're kids, our parents teach us how to tie our shoes. Why? Because they're not always going to be there every single time our shoes come untied. And eventually we have to learn how to tie them ourselves, right? Well, can you imagine what would happen if your parents never taught you how to tie your shoes? I mean, you literally would have your shoes untied and you'd be like this 17-year-old person with your shoes untied, and everybody'd be like, what the heck is wrong with you? And they'd be like tripping all over yourself and fall down and bust your face. And now everyone's like, why are you this 17-year-old practically adult that doesn't know how to tie their shoes? Like, again, we have to prepare our kids, our loved ones, for the future. We're not always going to be there. And even if we were always going to be there, we rob them from the skill building, the development, the personal growth of learning how to do things for themselves. That is a really big deal. The pride that comes from being autonomous and for being accountable to yourself and for knowing that I did this, I accomplished that. You're taking all of that away from them by doing everything for them. You're not being a super parent in that moment. You're actually being an enabler. Another reason why you might be putting yourself on the back burner is because you have found that you have buried yourself for so long that it has just become easier to avoid and deny your dreams and your wants and your desires. Like at this point, it's like you just feel like it's too late. This is who I am. I don't even know how to get to that person. I want you not to be discouraged. It's never too late. If you have breath in your lungs, you are hearing my voice, it is not too late. Number 5, and our final red flag, is you keep expecting your circumstances to change due to other people's behavior. This is the example how I told you I moved from Michigan to Texas and I thought that was going to solve all of my problems. I was going to get myself out of a bad environment, bad people, and all of a sudden it was going to be a magical world with unicorns and rainbows and butterflies, and it was going to be gorgeous and everything was going to be perfect and I'd never struggle again because the toxic people were the problem, right? We have to take accountability for ourselves. That is a tough pill to swallow. That is the tough pill that I'm leaving you with today. You have to take accountability for yourself and recognize that you have the power. I don't care how dire your circumstances feel right now. You absolutely have the power to change them. I fully believe we are co-creators in our lives. I don't want to be a toxic, positive person or a out of touch motivational speaker and pretend like external factors and external influences don't exist, because they do. And a lot of times they are obstacles. A lot of times they're big obstacles. It is true, our external factors do influence and impact our success in life, where we are in life, how we show up in life, things that happen to us. However, it is disempowering, debilitating, and just downright wrong to leave out the other side of the equation. You also have power. You also have influence. No matter how small you feel, you also have the ability to create change and to impact your environment. You are a co-creator. What you do matters. What you think matters. What you say matters. You can change. You don't have to give up just because you've been a certain way, just because things have been a certain way for a really long time does not mean that they can't change. Does it mean that we may deal with some losses? It does. When I talk about helping women build confidence to set boundaries and say no without the fear of guilt and rejection, I put the emphasis and the keyword on the fear of. Because the fact of the matter is yes, you will deal with rejection. There are people who have been used to walking over you, walking all over you forever. Some of those people might get used to the new you, and that would be wonderful. We love them. Some of those people aren't going to get used to the new. They're going to be mad and they're going to be upset, and they aren't going to want anything to do with you, because how dare you stand up for yourself? How dare you say no to them? Who do you think you are? It might feel like a loss. But again, letting go of that fear of that loss is the big part. Again, that is where your impact comes in. The loss is part of the external factors that you're not in control of. You don't get to control how someone else behaves. You're fooling yourself to think that anything you can do is going to change someone's behavior. People change because they want to, not because of what you've done. You cannot love someone into change. You can't. No matter how hard you love them, you're not going to love them into doing something that they don't want to do. However, you can do the self-work and the self-love, the self-appreciation, the self-validation to let go of the fear of losing them, to learn how to make peace, to accept the loss of that person who really never had your best interests at heart, who really you'll probably come to learn you're better off without. So that is all I have for today. I hope that served you in some kind of ways. If you feel like, oh my gosh, you just brought all these things to light, now what? Don't worry, I got you, boo. I'm about to just leave you hanging. Don't worry, okay? That is what this podcast is for. This podcast is an opportunity for us to connect and work through these problems. You are welcome to contact me and send me a message with a question that you want me to answer on the podcast. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast because you're like, oh girl, I got a story about how I overcame people pleasing, I would love that. Yes, please, and thank you. Also, if you feel like you need additional help, my coaching services are always available. And thank you so much for showing up. We are going to work on these things that we discussed today throughout this podcast. I plan to bring in other people who struggle with people pleasing so they can share their stories of how they overcame people pleasing. I plan to share more about my story and how I overcame. I'll be sharing tips, motivation, interesting psychology stuff, all things kind of like personal development and mindsets and motivation, but like motivation that also comes with like action. Speaking of action, let's get some homework in. I would love for you to tell me which one of these 5 red flags is you. Which one of these 5 red flags hit you the hardest? Which one was a slap in the face? Which one was like, yep, that's me? Which one are you struggling with the most? Tell me how it's showing up in your life. Building the self-awareness is the first step. We cannot fix what we don't recognize is the problem. So I want to applaud you right now. Thank you for getting honest with yourself. Thank you for starting the self-awareness. Thank you for beginning this journey. And also, homework number 1 is, because I just thought of it, homework number 1 is, yes, tell me which one of these 5 red flags slapped you in the face the hardest. Second piece of homework in the comments right below the video is where I want you to put this homework, by the way. Second piece of homework is, if you recently overcame one of these 5 red flags, share with us how you did it. Share with the group. Don't be keeping all those secrets to yourself. Share with the group. Tell us what you did. How did you overcome? Pass it on. Okay. Thank you again so much for being here with me today. I feel very blessed by your presence. I can feel it. And I wish you well. And I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.